welcome in. It's Bourbon Night. How is everyone?
Hi.
Hi.
Hope you're doing good this Sunday.
Yeah.
This is our first full Sunday of dry month. First full week.
Well, dry middle of the month to middle of the month.
Right. Well, a month can be a month's worth of time.
It's true.
We're not doing calendar months.
No,
there was too much work to catch up on after the holidays. It's time.
And in fact, if we didn't admit to you that we were doing dry month, you might not even notice.
You might not even notice.
Still have Glen Cairns here.
I bet that's filled with Coke Zero.
Just can't see what's in it.
If I had to guess, it's Coke Zero. That's not how you drink your bourbon. That's gross. I don't like it.
And the other content that you will see in produced episodes, you would know that we're doing.
Well, we're going to be honest with you.
Dry.
We're going to be transparent.
It's true.
I like to do dry month. It's a good
true.
reset to just make sure after drinking during the holidays that, like, okay, I can still go dry for a month. And also
push that reset button.
Reset, the palate, the senses.
But, so, as we did last year when was the first time we attempted dry month.
Successfully.
Yeah. It also gives us not an excuse, but I guess more of a reason to bring on guests so that we have more things to talk about.
A good opportunity, to connect with people.
Opportunity.
And bring guests on for you guys.
We like it. So, do we have a treat for you guys here? Because Jason C. from the Mash and Drum is here. He's in the green room. He's enjoying all the snacks back there. We're going to bring him in right now. Please welcome Jason. What's up?
Hi.
Hey, what's up, you two Utes? How you guys doing?
The two what?
Pretty good. How are you?
The two what?
Good. How you guys?
Utes.
How are you guys?
We're good.
Good. It's been busy. We finally feel like we have some time after the holidays to
slow down.
Yeah, slow down and, get back to doing, I don't know, catch up almost. Try to catch up.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably feel that too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had to hit the reset button after Blending was over, which is, always a ton of work every year. It just was like, I definitely needed to reset. And then I kind of took a week and a half off before, I got into my, year-end lists and all that fun stuff. So now I feel like now that that's out of the way, I have a couple more to do, but the big one's out of the way. Now I can just start focusing on just doing kind of like my regular content again, doing reviews, doing some fun videos and some interviews and stuff like that. So yeah, I think everybody kind of needs that a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, back to regularly scheduled programming, I guess.
Until it's time to do it again this year.
That's right.
Which I feel like sneaks up on us before we know it. It kind of seems like once September hits, it's just like all time blurs until the end of the year. It's just like...
Well, time's a flat circle.
It is. I heard that once. Yeah,
it is.
I love your mug.
It is the way to drink from that mug.
This is the way.
Yeah.
I don't want to entice you guys with a whiskey, and even though I don't do the dry month, but I have heavily cut back on drinking. Just I've actually since not last year but the year before. So I do very minimal drinking in between live streams and just doing reviews. And obviously if I'm doing barrel picks, that's another thing, but I really try to cut back a lot. So because I was it's hard not to just keep enjoying all this stuff. So
especially when it's you're around it all the time, or you're going to events and around other people who enjoy it. But
I think that's the hardest part. It's I love the community so much, but it's like when you're around, it's like, oh, I don't think I could do anymore.
Yeah.
Well, especially after December, when for us it was daily videos, and we also had 2 barrel picks come out in December.
So we're doing tasting videos for
those, and then the best of the year list and everything. Yeah. So November, December is just.
And then in September and October, it's a lot of festivals and things. Yeah, so weekend long events where there's drinking every single day.
So fourth quarter.
No, it's literally 4 months out of the year. Yeah. So we have to be extra cautious.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I think it's. Oh gosh, what was I was gonna say something. Now I can't remember what it was. Oh, I think it's funny because people will ask me, they'll ask us, well, what's your daily drinker? What do you get a pour of? Or what are you drinking on the regular right now? And I'm like, that's so funny because I guess we're at a point where if it's not on camera, we really don't sit down at the end of a day and pour a drink. Unless I'm with friends socializing, we're not sitting on the couch having drinks together unless it's for an episode or planning for an episode. If it's not for
there's content. Also you get you buy a new bottle, or a sample comes in the mail. Your friend gives you something. There's always something that you do little tastes here and there, even if it's not on camera. That when it's at the end of the day, you're like, no, I feel like I've I've had my share.
Right. I guess it's like we do so much tasting for this that when it comes time to relax at the end of the day, I'm like, I think I'll have some tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tea,
that might change.
Tea has been a nice big help for me too.
I love tea.
Tea is
more
good.
Tea
is good.
Kind of ease down. Maybe pour a little whiskey in there every now and again, but not too much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I've tried to find other drinks that are like treats. Like I like kombucha a lot, so have one of those a day, and it's like gives me something to look forward to. Whereas a few years ago it would have been definitely a cocktail or a glass of wine several nights a week, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I just am at a point now where I can't do both. I can't do that 4 nights a week and go out with my friends once and then also drink for work.
What about you, Jason?
I'm with you. Yeah.
Are you a cocktail guy?
Not really. I go through phases, and I think it's actually a seasonal thing for me. Like winter hits, and not so much drinking cocktails, but I think the most cocktails I drink is when fall time hits, because there's a lot of like fall themed cocktails I love. Like I love just like making an old fashioned, but using like the black walnut bitters to it, and really getting into like some of those just like darker, richer. What's the new cocktail I'm obsessed with? It's got like coffee liqueur in it, bourbon. I don't know, but it's pretty amazing. And
we did an episode with coffee, Mr. Black coffee liqueur. And we made I forgot what we called it.
I can't remember the name of the cocktail, but that was kind of my new favorite thing for a little bit. I think summertime to get a lot of cocktails because it's bright. And you get a lot,
and it's too hot.
It's too hot for barrel proof crap. So you need something refreshing.
It's too hot. Yeah. Yeah, so, people will ask like, what do you guys like to drink in the summer? And I'm like, I still like to drink, neat pours of barrel proof stuff. But man, in the middle of July when it's like 100 degrees and full humidity outside, I'm like,
seagrass.
That's
what I reach for. Seagrass.
I need like a mule or something. Like I can't. It's unenjoyable. We've been at
something with a rock, maybe.
Bourbon and Beyond when they have it in September, and it's been like 95 degrees, and everyone's just pouring neat bourbon, and I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like literally laying down in the grass dying.
Yeah,
I'm not made to be outside for that long.
And definitely the warmer months is that's when I'll start like hitting a lot of like my 90 to 100 proof stuff. Kind of stay in that realm rather than going above that. You throw some rocks in it, it just becomes a little bit. All I need is like rocks in it, maybe like a lime or a lemon, and I am like good to go for the whole day, and I'm completely fine.
Yeah. We need to catch up on a few super chats here. Our first one of the evening's from Michelle Martin. She says, "Welcome, Jason. Nice to have our two favorite channels together and alive.
Synergy.
Synergy.
Coming
together. Coming together.
I love it. The collaboration.
Yeah." Joey Tony Bag of Donuts saying, "Hi, Jason, Sarah, and Chad, too." Well, thank you. I'm here. Chad's here, too, everybody. It's been 21 days without my beautiful bourbon, but I'm enjoying the local
Chilean
beer. Thank you, Sarah. I'll be home in 3 weeks, and it can't come soon enough for lots of reasons.
Well, glad you're having a good trip.
Safe travels. Yeah. Safe travels.
That sounds like a great trip.
It does. And for those, a nice little triangle.
Oh, a triangle.
Yeah. Very, very well.
Thanks.
Very understated.
Thanks.
Like it.
Well, I kind of, we kind of want to talk a little bit since we are just kind of coming out of that best of the year time. Some things, I know your list came out, 3 days ago? But before that, I had this question pop into my brain today, which I think is kind of a good one to ask. You've been doing your channel for, almost as long as we have. How long?
It's around the same time, right?
I only started in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Really?
2018.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did we meet before that? Because I feel like it's been longer than that.
Well, it's only 2 years after ours.
I don't know. I can't keep track of time.
I met you guys for the first time. I think we all remember the story. It was at the Four Roses line meeting up
Four
in
Roses.
LA. And I had my channel. So that comes out September-ish. That usually comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My channel's first video was in August that year.
Oh wow.
Oh,
So
okay.
I literally
You know what?
met you guys maybe a couple months after my channel started. So
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's funny because the other day Chad was asking me when we were talking about bringing guests on the show and stuff, and he was like, "It's so funny how like we have obviously we can only have some people on, right? We can't have everyone on because then it would just be all the shows for forever." But he was like, "It's funny how we have some people on and not others. Like, why do you think that is?" I was like, "Well, I think it's because we know some people. Like, there's people that we have open lines
Met
of
in
communication with." He was like, "But I wonder why that is." And I was like, thinking about it, I was like, every single person we've been together at events, we've met and spent time together in person, like, and it's weird because you think, you know, if you hadn't have said anything at that Four Roses thing, then we never would have met, and then we wouldn't be sitting here like this. You know, we might be like, oh, he's the competition.
Ooh, that Jason.
like
We'll get his.
that
We see it's friendly competition.
Yeah, we've got his number.
that guy has 10
That guy.
subscribers. What's happening?
Well, anyway, what I was getting at with this question was, you know, since you started in 2018 until now, what section, I guess distillery is really it. What distillery have you seen grow the most bottle-wise for you? Like, you may have in 2018, you had a little, you know, in your collection, you had a couple bottles or maybe no bottles. And now in 2023, got it right, 2023, you know, it's expanded. What's that one for you?
That's actually a really easy question for me. It's not even close. It's Wild Turkey and Four Roses.
Really? Okay.
Four Roses single barrel proof picks. Like I can't have enough of those. And as far as Wild Turkey goes, especially in the beginning, when I was finding out how much I loved Wild Turkey, I was all in on Russell's picks. I have like 60 or 70 Russell's picks just by itself because I love them so much.
Dang.
All different warehouses, just whatever I can get my hands on. But other than that, I mean, some other ones that kind of snuck on me over the last few years. I mean, I was buying every single Booker's for a while, so I have a lot of Booker's laying around. I kind of slowed down with that, and I don't know if so much Heaven Hill is a brand, but I think when you're trying to catch every single Elijah Craig barrel proof that comes out, which is 3 times a year, you exponentially start getting a lot of those bottles just because you're trying to review them all. But I mean, while some of that is on purpose and some of that is for reviews, I would say those 3 are kind of my biggest. And then, you know, let's not even get into like Wild Turkey Dusties, getting into some of those bottles, which is a whole nother, you know, it's a whole nother rabbit hole.
It's a whole other thing. Yeah.
So I think for me, easily though, I think Wild Turkey and Four Roses, because I think those are some of the best picks and values and different flavor variations you could get in whiskey and in bourbon for sure.
We did a hunting video. We shot it this week. We were out in Louisville hunting, and we put out a poll because people said they wanted to see us look for really good store picks amongst just, you know, whatever else you can find. And so we asked, like, okay, well, there's lots of different store picks. You know, which ones do you want to see us look for? And Four Roses and Russell's were the top 2, right?
Yeah.
I think that they're just, when you can find one, I think we see Russell's more than we see Four Roses. Four Roses have become very difficult to find.
Yeah.
But yeah,
no
I agree.
spoilers for our episode. But yes,
I didn't say anything. I just said they're difficult to find.
Yeah, when you kind of think about it, like it's hard not to, you know, when folks are chasing barrel picks and stuff like that. I mean, what are you looking at for Four Roses? An average of 9 to 12 years old sometimes with most of those picks.
Yeah.
I mean, for that distillery with that type of, you know, just, I don't know. I know people are funny with Four Roses. I absolutely love it. I love the different recipes and kind of exploring those. And I actually got an interesting question. Here's a question for you guys too, because I wasn't sure how to answer this question. So, all right. So if you have, let's rate the top 3 here. If you only had Russell's picks, Four Roses picks, and Maker's Mark private selects to choose from, if that's all you could buy, like the rest, like single barrel wise, the rest of your lives, which one of those three do you think you would get less bored with? Because yes, Maker's Private Selects, you get a lot of different flavor variations with that. But I feel like that's still that same backbone Maker's Mark is still there. Mm-hmm. And you have Russell's.
Yeah, it's still the base level of. Yeah.
Well, for me, I would.
Go ahead. Ladies first.
Thank you. Well, for me, let me just get more in the middle of the frame here.
Oh, I'll just leave. Why don't I just leave? And then y'all just hang out with your hats and your hat club.
It's going to be... no, I was just going to say I would want to kick one out. In the spirit of Sarah on a barrel pick, she's always like...
I'm cutthroat.
Kick one out of bed.
Chad's like, I can't do it. I can't choose. I'm like, well, we can't leave with 5. You have to kick one out.
Let's see. Let's call. Maybe we can...
No.
I would kick Makers out first. And I'll tell you why. Because, yes, they're great. We just, we had one. You have one too, right? We did one pretty recently, and they're amazing. Lots of variety.
Probably one of the best experiences you'll have.
Absolutely,
So great. Yeah,
hands down.
But when it comes to it, because of the different stave combinations, it's maybe less traditional bourbon flavors. So if I was only drinking Makers Private Selects, I feel like I would start wanting like the more traditional flavors, such like the classic turkey. Mm-hmm. Not saying that turkey's my answer, but that's why I think I would not choose Makers.
Right. I think at the end of the day, you're looking at a base of Makers cask strength that has different toasted and seared oak profiles imparted upon it, but you're still looking at that base product, which is meant to taste the same across the board, and then have the. So like you said, you're getting some variance there with the staves that you choose, and I think they're delicious.
Oh, yeah.
But it's all that, additional wood flavors being imparted on it as well. I think with the thing about the turkey and the Four Roses, I think that you get, like with the turkey, like what you were saying, is you have all these Russell's picks, and they're from all these different warehouses and all these different locations, and that gives it some variance. So even though they're all Russell's Reserve, they're coming from, they're having different, whatever locations. And then with Four Roses, okay, so it's all on one level, but we're getting all the different recipes and the yeast strains. So
and even in one level, you can get a lot of.
You can get some variance, right?
Yeah,
so I think Four Roses is going to give you the most.
Yeah, I think the question really stemmed from availability because, like you said, alluded to earlier, Four Roses picks are pretty hard to come by. Russells are a little bit more in the mainstream, and it feels like Maker's Mark Private Selects are a dime a dozen these days.
They're everywhere.
They were at every single stop that we went to.
They're like Knob Creeks now.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because they're both Beam Suntory.
Beam Suntory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I didn't know availability
I thought it
was in it.
It was an interesting conundrum to try to think of that.
That is.
And
go ahead.
With Four Roses, I think that's the only brand when it comes to their single barrels where people are so diehard as to which recipe is theirs. They'll be like, "Oh, I love an OBSV. I'm not really an E guy," or like, "I don't know how I feel about Qs." People have some strong opinions about the Four Roses breakdowns.
I could not agree with you more. So this is what blew me away. So last year, fortunate enough to do the first ever Four Roses pick that I ever got to do for Master Journey Whiskey Club. We went. It was an amazing experience. But I'm sure you guys know Mandy over there who runs the barrel pick program. Mm-hmm. Mandy.
Yep.
So, man, we're talking to her before we start, and she's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Some people just come in here and they don't even taste what we have. All they want is the recipe. They don't care. They don't care about what it tastes in the barrel." And it blew all of our minds. We're like, "What? Wait, what?"
Yeah.
So
I'm not into
they
that.
don't even want to taste anything. What if it's like a barely 100 proof, tier 1, not a lot of flavor. They're like, they don't care. They don't care. As long as it's that recipe, they're signing up for it. And that blew my mind.
That's crazy.
I think that's the same reason why when we go on picks, don't tell me the age up front. I don't want to know, because if you go with a group of people and you say, okay, we've got barrels aging from 8 to 12 years old, if you tell people the ages that up front, they're going to convince themselves that they like the 12-year the best, even though there might be a 10-year, 5-month one that is actually the best. Mm-hmm. I know what you mean, though. There will be people who convince themselves that they really don't like Ks.
Yeah.
And so then they'll just completely write it off from the beginning when, if you do it blind, Like
That's
you
true.
just, you know.
We need to pause to get caught up.
Yeah.
We're gonna pause for 1 second here.
And then I want to know what your favorite recipe is.
Then we're gonna get caught up on some super chats here. So this next one is from Derek. He says, "I recently got Old Forester Single Barrel as a 50th birthday gift. Happy birthday! What are your thoughts on it?"
I enjoy them.
So we will mentally put that question.
In
there. What are your thoughts on Old Forester Single Barrel?
Cool.
And our next, I saw we have another. Here it is.
Lots of chats.
Yeah, from Krusty, saying just keep some. Thanks. Just keep some rare breed and be done with it. Just keep some rare breed and be done with it.
Rare breed is great.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you a triangle.
Yeah. Well,
that was a baby one.
Could you imagine
just real quick
a rare breed barrel pick? Oh my god.
Yeah, I would.
Don't tease me with a good time.
I would shove all of you down. I would George Costanza running out of the fire. I would just push everyone down. One thing real quick that I also thought about. So now it seems like we're between Russell's and Four Roses. Russell's only at 110 proof. Only at 110, right?
Whereas with the Four Roses you get
true cast strength and differing proofs. So if you're able to amass a few, you can be like, I feel like a low barrel proof one today, or now I feel like a higher barrel proof one, and you can have probably a variance of 8 to 10, maybe more proof points. But where are you laying on it, Jason?
I kind of have a cheat code answer. It's like if Four Roses was as available as the Russell's picks, because I definitely see more Russell's picks than Four Roses picks. Yeah. I would go Four Roses just for those reasons, because you get a little bit more variation. I'm in love with their flavor profile, but I mean, right now as it is today, I like the Russell's picks because not only are they more available, but I love seeking out different warehouses and stuff. But I mean, it's the same thing that people do with Four Roses, seeking out tiers and proofs and specific recipes and all that. But it's kind of same book, different chapter, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
True.
Do you find that you gravitate more towards the OBs or the OEs? Or you don't discriminate. You like all of them.
Yeah, those aren't really my my gravitation is towards that last letter. So I'm a K person.
Oh, so you don't care what percentage of rye?
Nope.
So for anyone watching who doesn't know, the letters, I think the O is always the same and the S is always the same. Yes. So the first and the third letter it's a 4-letter code, and the first and the third letter remain the same. The second letter denotes the amount of rye in the mash bill, so it's either 20% or 35%, and then the final letter it denotes the yeast strain. So there's 5 yeast strains, 2 mash bills.
Rattle them off, Sarah. Delicate yeast, delicate fruit. I mean, I can't. I don't have.
I was gonna say I'm very impressed,
but Jason does.
It's like, 5 different yeast strains with different like fruits and spices and stuff.
Wait, you want me to rattle off? Wait, you want to rattle off the names or the flavor profiles?
The flavor profiles.
Yeah.
He's teasing. He doesn't know it.
Fruity, delicate, sweet, fruity, floral, and that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, I know.
So it's what? V,
Q,
K,
O,
F, and O. Yeah.
Yep.
And they each mean something different.
Yeah. So
I'm an OBSV.
Yeah. O's and K's. I'm sorry. V and K is usually the ones that I normally like, no matter what.
Same.
I don't really care about the mash bills, but when it comes to those other ones that are in between, those are the ones that I have the most fun with, because you don't really see O's and Q's that often, and when you get to try some of those, it's really interesting to find I've had O's that I was not crazy about, and I've had one O that like blew me away. So I just think it depends on the pick, I was like, made me say, ow.
Okay, I'm really leaving this time. I feel like Q's for me are the most like wild card of that. Yeah. It's gonna fall on this like big extreme scale of what I never know when it's a Q recipe how I'm gonna feel about it.
And I think Q is also the only one that works for me for whatever reason, like low and high tier. Because the flavors for me are just like really weird with Qs, and I don't know, like either low tier or high tier, like or in the middle. They're so interesting and so, like you said, like off the wall. Like I don't care. I just want to see what I can get out of that. you know.
Yeah.
I remember when we did the Four Roses small batch blend challenge. It was a charity event with the Election Bourbon Society, but Brent Elliott was there, and we were sharing with him. I think we ended up putting 5 of the 10 in ours, and one of them was a Q, and he was looking at our paper where we'd scribbled down our notes, and he said, "Oh, you put a Q in there. That's interesting. Normally the Qs don't work too well in
We did a small percentage.
Small batches. We're like, well, pro tip, Brent.
If you use it like this, it will work.
And then he walked away. No.
Question me with the Q?
Yeah, you questioning the Q? Don't question the Q.
Oh, he's great.
Let's do that question from Derek. Jason, what do you think about the Old Forester single barrels?
I like them better at 100 proof. I think there's too many not so great ones at the barrel proof. And I think people celebrate them because they are barrel proof and they could get into 130 something proof. And I get that part of it. I mean, I was lucky enough to do a pick last year of it, and we did a barrel proof, and everyone seemed to gravitate towards it. But to kind of echo the words of Jackie Zeichen when she was master taster there, she always said that Old Forester works better in a little bit of a lower proof. She wasn't saying like you have to go down to 90, but anywhere between like that 100 to 115 proof point, Old Forester can really blossom and become just a very, very layered whiskey. But she said, a lot of people go for those high proofers, but I've had more just like hot drinking, high proof, young whiskey, young bourbon type of flavors in most of those barrel proof picks versus a lot of the nuanced flavors I've had from the 100 proof picks. So I think for me, 100 proof, but anytime you get a single barrel proof, Old Forester, I still think that's a good day for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take your proof hound card away from you.
No,
I'm kidding.
you leave him alone.
I'm kidding.
No, I totally see that though. Like, I've had ones that I really enjoyed, and then other times when I've had the Old Forester barrel proofs, I've been like, this is too hot. It's just hot for aggressively hot's sake. And I think there's probably some accuracy to that. Like, I think between the 100 to 115 range I would agree that that's where it shines the best.
115 proof.
But I do like high proof
1920.
Old Forester because I loved the 150th releases that they did. Now, again, those were like probably the best of the best stuff that they found.
Right.
But
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know what I would do. I hope that I get to do an Old Forester pick. This year would be great. Bourbon Gods. This year would be great.
Yeah, it's like some of those, most of those barrel proof picks are like they're only like 4 to 5 years old. They're not highly aged, but heat cycled warehousing. Like I get it. It seems a little bit older than it is, but I feel like sometimes you can kind of taste that cheating a little bit. It's a note that I get in Woodford Reserve as well, especially like the batch proofs. It's almost like this underlying youthful like kick, like of bitterness that I get, and I feel like it's a young bourbon disguising itself as trying to be an older bourbon, but with a higher proof to it. And I feel like that's the vibe I get with some Old Forester barrel proof picks that I've had.
Yeah, I kind of feel like with Old Forester, there really is a sweet spot, not only not going too high on the proof, but also not too low because, I think you said between 100 and 115, or someone said it.
He said it first, and then I agreed.
There you go. Because the 86 proof and of just the regular Old Forester stuff, that banana note can really take over.
And sometimes when like the birthday bourbons dip below 100, I'm like,
Yeah, I think, where was it?
I'm not into it.
I'm with
Jenny
you.
was.
I have a question.
Birthday bourbons can be like originally. Birthday bourbons can stay in like that 10 to 12 year range and be 100, 115. Yeah, I totally agree, Jenny. Totally agree.
I think I fell out of love with them. Not that I was ever really in love with them, but I liked them a lot. And we had an easier time getting them when we very first started the channel. And then it seemed like there was year after year there from like 2017 to 2020 when we were hunting them. And then we would try them and I was like, I'm not feeling this. And I think it's just because it wasn't hitting the age and the proof that I wanted to see from them.
Yeah.
But I have a question.
Well, let's get Krusty in here one more time because that's
Okay.
our next super chat. It says, me and Peyton Manning say the cheaper Sweetens Cove's pretty damn good.
Haven't tried that yet.
Like the
They made
Tennessee
Peyton
wasn't bad. Huh?
Oh, the Tennessee, that was the, what was that, like a toasted maple oak? What was it?
Oh, I don't
It was
know.
Kentucky and
Sugar.
Tennessee distillate. I don't remember the bona fides, but
I forgot what
it was a lot cheaper. And it was
like a sugar maple wood or something that they did with that one.
something, yeah, something
I don't
like
know.
something like that. What's your question, Sarah?
So I feel like there's certain distilleries that when I taste them, I can tell what it is probably 90% of the time because of its like signature, notes or just whatever it is. That's something, right? Like their signature scent. I don't know.
Their finishing move.
And I think like Old Forester, but Brown-Forman as a whole, but especially like Old Forester and Woodford have that going on for me with the banana that you talked about. It's like a brown sugar, toasted oak, banana, orange, and a little bit of cinnamon. It almost smells like a smoked old fashioned to me.
And it can
or something
even make
like
it
that.
into some Jack Daniels too.
Right.
Some expressions.
Oh,
So
yeah, for sure.
I definitely feel like that's one that we've noticed over time, and there's others like Jim Beam Makers, Heaven Hill. But is there anything for you that you found over doing like the course of doing your channel that you've kind of picked up your own signature? Like as soon as I smell this or as soon as I taste it, this particular thing lets me know that it's X distillery.
It's definitely Heaven Hill. Heaven Hill has a mix of nuttiness, yet
The malty, yeah.
there's this nutty, malty, oaky profile that I can pick up on Heaven Hill. I think Jim Beam is up there for me too. I think Jim Beam has a very distinct nutty profile that I can normally pick up on. Wild Turkey I used to be good at, but now Wild Turkey has been
Wild
wavering.
Turkey's tough. Yeah.
It throws
all
me
over
for
the-
a loop so often. Yeah.
Yeah, Wild Turkey for me goes from what I think Wild Turkey is, and then some bottles get to like a more of a sweet almond profile, a nutty profile, and I kind of lose the cinnamon. Wild Turkey 101 to me, the new batches to me do not taste anything like the old. Like it's gone way sweeter to me for my.
Well, they shouldn't have changed the bottle.
I think that's what it is.
every
I think
time
that's what it is.
every time they make a new bottle, they change the recipe. It's
Don't be sassy.
some people think that. It's
And one other note that I always get, and this brings me back to Old Forester, but it's only high age Old Forester. If I smell Old Forester 10 years or older, I get an acetone nail polish remover note, always. And that usually tips me off to older Old Forester. I don't get it very often
Interesting.
because there's very few high age Old Foresters that come out unless you're talking about a birthday bourbon or some special release. But there's this weird acetone note that I always get with high age Old Forester.
interesting. Paldonis is saying maybe the sweet new bottle is making it sweeter by contact. That's not a sweeter bottle. It's
Don't.
it's not. Do you like the new
Chad's
Wild Turkey
opinion
101?
rules all. Everyone else is wrong.
Well, thank you for admitting it, Sarah. Now we can move on.
I like the big embossed turkey on the front of the bottle, but I could probably do without the modern looking label because that makes me think in my head like, oh my god, like did the whiskey go more modern? Like because I feel like it's going towards a sweeter palate, and I've been saying this for like months that I just feel like everything in whiskey is going towards it's the desertification of whiskey. Everything wants to be more desserty, more sweet, and more more palatable for everyone. So, and I felt like I don't know if Turkey's doing this on purpose, but I mean for that bottle, which is one of my favorites, to come like fourth in a blind tasting I did a couple weeks ago of like kind of like my favorite budgets, like that usually never happens. It's usually one or two. So I'm like that tells me a lot.
Yeah.
I do miss their older labels with the giant turkey drawing. I like those.
And
I
I miss the Austin Nichols bottle.
I don't even.
Yeah.
Well, I know we don't
miss gobbles.
own a new
gobbles.
bottle. Yeah,
Oh, God.
we don't.
We're
even
gonna have to get a new bottle.
We're gonna have to get a new bottle, but yeah, we don't because I think we still had bottles left over from like our wedding bar, where Turkey and Buffalo Trace was like our well, and they all went up from there.
Yeah.
But,
It all went up from there.
yeah.
That was my one thing that I was like, if we're getting married, the bar cannot suck. It has to be, people have to be like, that was the best wedding bar I've ever experienced. It's like, I will accept nothing less.
Yeah. Well, Jay,
Like, all I care about is their experience. And also all Chad cared about was their experience, because like half the night I was like, where is he? Where's Chad? Behind the bar, pouring drinks, slinging drinks for people. I'm like, you don't work here. Also, hello.
like in a minute, Sarah, I gotta take care of these orders. James here with the super chat saying 101 has changed, the bottle has changed, it's not the same, but we still drink the hell out of it.
Yeah, it's a great value.
I'll still drink the hell out of it, but it's missing that, I don't know, that spice that it always had to me. It's just a little bit
That
lacking.
je ne sais quoi.
This has given me an idea of like turkey through time.
Turkey through time.
Because like a vintage, if we have like a more vintage bottle, I know we have some older. Yeah. We definitely have like a jug of like 2012 Turkey 101.
Well, yeah, we were finding old turkey at a place that we were kind of earmarking for our wedding bar. So we still have like a 2012, 13, 14 big turkey handles. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
I think it would be fun to taste test them through time.
Turkey through time. I like that.
I'm trying to, with all my
write
turkey
that down.
picks, with all my turkey, my Russell's picks, I'm trying to curate like a list, like a flavor profile, kind of a flavor profile dictionary here, like a compendium of flavor profiles of all from the different warehouses.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
But isn't it funny how, you go on picks and you've got it down to a couple and they're like, yeah, this one's from Warehouse D. A lot of great picks coming from Warehouse D here lately. But if you went back 6-9 months down the road, it'd be a new hot warehouse. Warehouse K, a lot of great barrel picks here recently coming out of K.
Yeah,
I think it shifts
they do say that a lot. It does shift, and I mean, I don't know if you guys got to taste any of the McBrayer turkey picks that were out there last year.
Mm-mm.
I mean, those things were like, I mean. That's the problem, though. On the bottle, it says B, but it doesn't tell you McBrayer. I think it had to be a certain laser code that told you if it was McBrayer or not. Yeah. And those turkey picks were probably some of the most crushable Russell's, great juice, fruit punchy, like Russell's picks I had ever tasted. I'm like, this is nuts. This is drinking like it's 100 proof, and it's like juice. Like, what is happening here? Crazy.
That's one thing that's cool about bourbon, but also that I dislike a little bit is when this laser code on the rare breed has whatever it was 14 or I can't remember how old mixed into it, and this laser code and here I am looking at bottles like the laser code. I'm like, just put a sticker on it or something, make it easier. Like, it's cool because if you know, and you're in the know. But
are you saying you need glasses?
No,
I feel like he's saying he needs
laser
glasses.
codes. They're so freaking small. And you're just
like, Chad uses a monocle. That's what he means.
Well,
you know what?
Never.
He totally would. If I would allow him, Chad would wear a smoking jacket every day and have a monocle. He would puff on a cigar, but it wouldn't be lit. if I would just let him be himself.
It's called class, Sarah.
Oh, I'll get some. I'll work on it.
Look into it.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your top 10. Now, I don't want to. First of all, if you haven't seen Jason's top 10, go watch it.
And if you don't subscribe to Jason, go do it right now.
Do that also. So we're not looking to spoil anything, and then people be like, "Well, I don't have to go watch the episode." You do. I watched it today.
You can always come back to this episode later if you don't want it spoiled.
Yeah.
You can always come back.
So I wrote yours down, and I was looking. We've got some similarities and things, but one that I didn't see in there, and it's maybe because maybe you didn't get a bottle. Were you able to get the Four Roses LE this year or last year, 2022?
I did get it, but I got it very late.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Same with us. We got it in December, I think.
Very late, yes.
Yeah, I did not get it until actually January, so I couldn't really count it in there. Normally, like last year was my whiskey of the year because it actually
won too.
Blind tasting. Yeah, and that's right, yours too. So
we have great palates. Look at us.
Wow, we're the best.
Yeah. Look at us. Look at us. We really are the best.
We're right and everyone else is wrong.
Come see how good my palate looks.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. So I did not get it. It'll be interesting to see if I put it up against some of my tops, if it would, how it would do. But I do think compared to last year's, I thought it actually did come off a little bit sweeter, which I didn't mind. It still did carry like that really nice oak and spice that you love with Four Roses, but it did. It came off a little bit more confectionery to me this year, at least on my first couple sips. Obviously, most of those high aged LEs from Four Roses, they really open up and change a little bit over time. I got to get down like past the shoulder and see what it turns into, but that's the only that's one of my criteria for being in the top 10. Like I had to have a bottle of it to enjoy, if not all year, at least most of the year, or even if I got it late in the year, I got to at least have 3 or 4 or 5 pours of it to see if it holds up, So
yeah. That's an
interesting way to look at it.
That is an interesting way to look at it.
I never considered it like that.
Some people, suggest to us that we go to, it has to be, you have to own the bottle, which would cut out any like media samples or anything shared with us, and where we get it, and you make complete sense with yours, but I guess with us, we take it as like bourbon is such a shared thing, like sometimes a friend they might have the best bourbon they've ever tasted because it was shared with them, or a buddy brought over a bottle, or it might be the only time that you have X, Y, and Z when it was shared with you. So we're like, since bourbon is such a sharing community, we're like, we don't want to knock that out. But your look at it with it having enough
to have tried it several times
because your body physiology changes all the time. So when you're drinking it this time, you had XYZ for lunch, things change, things taste differently. So that's
you're in a different mood.
You're in a different mood. That's a really good way to look at it too.
Just in the simplest terms, it's just you got to have enough to put through like a tumultuous bunch of blind tasting rounds.
Right.
There's like I got a sample of the the Old Fitz 19, but I mean I could have never put that up against a bunch of different whiskeys. I just wouldn't have had enough, and I'm not sure where in that bottle that sample was from, or so you just never know, and that's why I just try to go with bottles I was able to get. I don't, as much as I would love to hunt unicorns all the time, I just can't. And I live in Ohio, where most of the the hard to get bottles go into a state lottery. So I rely on an amazing network of patrons and friends to try to find stuff for me if I can, and that's really what it comes down to. So
yeah, I think something that we talked about earlier in the episode that I think impacts like why we do end up including media samples is because when we were talking about how like earlier in our channel's history, we would get every bottle of Booker's, or we would get every single the 3 times a year releases of the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and the Larceny and the Booker's, and then try to find both of the Old Fitzes, and like eventually it just becomes to where you just can't, both from a time and money, but also like where you store it type of reasons. There's lots of different limiting factors of like we physically can't support continuing year over year for what will be 7 years this year to get multiple 3, 4, 5 times released a year products. But I also want to be able to answer questions like when someone says, what's the best Elijah Craig Barrel Proof you've had this year? If we didn't get a full bottle of one of them, like it's nice to be able to weigh in having at least tasted them. I don't know.
There's definitely no perfect answer. And I think it's great that like each channel has their own way of looking at it and their own approach. Like, with both of us, we both do it blind, which I think is like the ultimate thing. Like, you cannot do it blind, and that's fine. We're not going to chastise anyone ever.
No.
But I think the 3 of us all agree that it's blind or nothing. Like take any bias out of there.
That's the way to do it. I mean, I go through multiple rounds. I just kind of throw like 10 bourbon, or I think I do like in rounds of like 7 or 8. I'll take 7 bourbons, put them in a blind, see which ones come out on top. I'll take those top 2. Then I do another round of another bunch of different ones that, and see how they do. Then eventually, once I get through all those, then I kind of throw all those top ones in a mix together to see how they fare. And it's just kind of interesting to see how your palate reacts each time, especially when you're looking at what bourbon. Like my number one bourbon of the year was Heaven Hill 17. It wasn't even close.
So
That was I love that bottle so much.
Yeah,
And
that was.
it was
I think
interesting though.
4 for
Got a
us.
little bit
Yeah.
it got a little bit scary when I had it in a blind at one point because I threw the Jack Daniels little Coy Hill bottle in it, which was sitting right there peeking over. It's like you have because the proof of it, I think it just like kind of explodes, but it just couldn't compete with it. And then you have something before that. It's interesting because if it could hold up in a blind tasting, when you have things coming preceding it and coming after it, and it could still hold up as your favorite, you got something special, at least to your palate personally.
Yeah, we always say like the ultimate way that I don't think anyone has time or the resources for is to do that and then do it 9 times over again over like a month's period, and then take all those and average them, and like because
that would be a very scientific way.
That would be the most scientific way
to do
but
it. That's
ain't
a lot
nobody
of
got
drinking.
time for
That's
that.
a lot of drinking.
And yeah.
I was very excited to see the Heaven Hill 17 year come in your number one, just because like the moment I tasted that one.
How did you get that
this
bottle?
year, I was so jealous.
We weren't able to get a bottle
I was
of.
so jealous. Oh, don't complain. We got to try it, and that was good enough for me. Oh my gosh.
I mean, luckily, yes,
yeah,
we got a media sample of that one, but it was like a 100 milliliter, so at least you can drink on it several times and put it through its paces.
But man,
for sure, yeah.
That's one of those. If I could find a full bottle, I'd be like, but at what price?
Well, we did, and we passed it on to a patron, and now I'm wishing we'd kept that one for ourselves.
Oh, don't. We have plenty.
I mean, it wasn't like full secondary, but it was a little bit higher.
We have plenty.
Beyond the Row here with the super chat saying, "Cheers to an amazing community." Agreed. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Whatever y'all drinking, doesn't matter. Could be tea. Could be from a Mandalorian helmet.
Could be. So, what would you say was your biggest surprise in your top 10?
Biggest surprise.
Or I can ask a different question.
You can be thinking on that one.
Yeah, let me noodle on that one because I got to think back to the blind tasting. What kind of gave me that shock and awe moment? Yeah.
Or is there anything that you thought going into it would have made it into the top that didn't show up and that surprised you?
Honestly, I had the two Bardstown discoveries I thought were going to crack the top 10, and neither of them did.
We had the same,
yeah, which was surprising.
We didn't allow them in because of our weird rules because it had Canadian in it. But normally Bardstown.
And then we couldn't call the episode for our things. Well, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, even though we had some
finish.
They were
technically whiskeys, not bourbon. I get it.
Yeah.
I can see that. But
and the only reason we've become we've just
No,
become sticklers on that because in the comments, once we post the episode, someone will be like, well, technically, this isn't a bourbon, this is a world whiskey. And it's like, all right, fair enough.
But also, we always try to be like the most scientific that we can. But, I want to know this.
Maybe that's why they didn't do well in the blind because they didn't really come off like a bourbon. They came off like something.
Well,
different.
and it would probably stand out if it was the only thing that had Canadian in it. It might be like, hello, I'm different.
What's this on the boot, eh?
No.
No, what I want to know is what were you not able to get bottle-wise in 2022 that you feel like just based on like previous years, if you had been able to obtain it, it might have done well. Like what do you wish you would have been able to get?
I mean, everybody asked me, oh, I'm surprised. Like the most comment I got was, oh, I'm surprised I didn't see Old Fitz 17 in the list. Apparently that was a huge favorite from a lot of people. And I was not able to get, even more so than the 19. Right. I was just not able to get that bottle. I didn't even see one.
Same.
So that was kind of one of the ones that was like most requested. And I'm surprised. And I'll tell you what I wish I still had to see how it would have done was I have a cigar blend from Joseph Magnus. I believe it's batch 85, I think. And it was called like the Berry Blue batch or something like that. probably the most dark blue berried bourbon whiskey I've ever had. I mean, the thing literally tastes like it literally tasted like blueberry muffins. And I was
Sounds
like,
so good.
I know, but I drank
Dang.
through that shit, and my mom came over. She drank through some of it too, and it was just like, I didn't have enough, and I wish I would have, seen how that would have done. Unfortunately,
That's funny though.
yeah.
I like that idea of like featuring a bottle that it like didn't make it into the list because it was so good that you drank it. Like,
And
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing that certain people forget. Like when you're getting these bottles, throughout the year. I mean, there are some bottles that you get way in the beginning of the year that sometimes those might be at a disadvantage because if you really like it, you start drinking it, and then you're like, oh crap, I don't have any more left at the end of the year.
So yeah, we've run into that too, or like I'll try something in January, February, March, be like, this is so good, but then by the time November rolls around, I have drank so many
what
things
was
since
that?
then. I'm like,
Yeah.
what was that thing? I forgot.
Yeah.
So I've went into full nerd mode this year. I have a spreadsheet. I have multiple spreadsheets going to like attempt to track all the things that we've at least tried, and then to go ahead and earmark anything that I think might be worthy of going into the best of the year contention.
Like revisiting at the end of the year.
Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously, it'd be nice to get like BTAC every year, but I don't get those bottles. I don't even get samples from Buffalo Trace. So unless I try to, usually if I get samples from great patrons, I get to try it. And that's really fun. But as far as like getting bottles of that to throw into my top 10, like to be able to like try to throw like a George T. Stagg and a William Louis Weller bottle, that ain't happening. So
we struggle a bit there because like we have the past few years been fortunate enough to get media samples, but it seems like we struggle from both. We want to be scientific and tell you the best thing that we tasted throughout the year and do the blind ranking and let it be whatever it is. And if BTACs happen to come in the top, then they do, and so be it. We struggle between wanting to provide that unbiased scientific information and people not wanting to hear it. They're like, I get it. They're good. They're going to continue to be good. Don't tell me about it. Like I feel like sometimes they would be happier if they weren't even in there and we just like wrote into the rules. Like all BTACs are good. We all know this. We're not judging them. Goodbye.
But
and I think there's some. I mean, there's obviously both sides to that. And I know you guys put out a great video, on kind of like some of the comments for it. But I honestly wouldn't change for anyone. I just continue to do what you do. If you choose to focus on more, attainable bourbons and whiskeys, then I mean that's always good. I try to do that with my What's on the Shelf Wednesday episodes. But at the same time, I think everybody knows, like, no matter what you say about BTAC, no matter what you say, people are going to wait online for it, buy it, trade it, sell it, secondary it. It doesn't matter. I think when it ends up on top people's lists, because of all kind of like that messy air and that junk that kind of surrounds it, it just pisses people off more. It's like, okay, well, now I have to pay, $1,500 to get this bottle. I got to get this and I got to get that, and I'll never see a bottle. So thanks for nothing. I get it. I get it. But at the same time, I would never apologize for getting like great bottles to try and be able to taste and include it. So
it's funny because
go ahead. Sorry.
I completely agree with you. I totally feel that the frustration. It's like we're not the source of the frustration, but we're like, it's almost like the straw that broke the camel's back. But then last weekend we were at our local liquor store did a lottery for all of their BTACs and Pappies and stuff, and like when we were making conversation while we were waiting for them to draw numbers, which again we go not expecting to win bottles because one, we were already fortunate enough to taste them, and two, like, the odds are not in our favor. And if we did win, we had already agreed, like, we were going to share the bottle and, like, do something with it. But when we were in conversation, people were asking you, like, what would you get? Which one would you get if you did get drawn? And what should I get if I get drawn? Mm-hmm. And it's nice to be able to weigh in those scenarios, because I do know somebody who got drawn, and it's, like, it's, I guess, good to be able to weigh in and say, well, actually, maybe don't discount the Thomas H. Handy this year because it is really good. So maybe don't make that your last choice if you do get drawn. Like, I would personally pick that over, this, that, and the other. Like,
Yeah, I was like, obviously there was a lot more people who are watching it who don't have the opportunity to get it. But even if we're speaking to, that the very few who like get drawn in that lottery and they're up there and they have the choice, like, well, they said that the WLW, whereas great, isn't as great this year or whatever it is, And,
yeah, and not that we're always right.
No,
but we just want to provide
and
helpful
they
information,
make an informed decision. So it's
especially when like your time and your money is on the line,
yeah,
right? I feel
sure.
like that has more value than me telling you between two $25 bottles or less which one to get. Yeah, okay, more people.
The stakes are higher, right?
Right, more people will probably it'll apply to them, but the stakes aren't as high, right?
Yeah, but it's like, you just, because I like at the end of every year I get multiple emails, messages, this is what my store's getting. If I had the chance to get it, what do I get? And it's always like the Pappies, it's the B-Tax, it's the Rare Wellers, it's whatever you want to call it. Basically, Buffalo Trace's top hit list. And it's like, what is it? Sure. It's like, what does it matter? No matter what I say, you're buying either George C. Stagg, William Rue Weller, maybe an Old Fitz, maybe you pick up a Weller full. Those are the ones you're going to go for. So, I mean, true. Pappy, I'm like, so this is how I always say it to him. I'm like, if you're going to buy something and drink it. And not
yes, I was about to say that.
Yes, and not just let it be a showpiece or try to flip it somewhere, then these are the bottles you need to look at. But other than that, it's like, dude, just get the ones that are, everyone talks about.
That's funny. Like, literally in line, someone asked, like, which one should I get? And I was like, well, are you going to drink it or are you going to sell it or display it?
That's the first thing I like, oh, what should I get?
Because my answer changes.
For sure.
I'm like, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to talk to you anymore.
What are you looking to do?
What are you looking to do? It's like, if he tells me, well, I'm gonna, take it home tonight, gonna crack it open with some friends, yada yada yada. I'm like, all right, so this is what you want to look at. Oh, I'm gonna sell it. Then I'm like, well, get out of here. Go talk to someone else. I'm not gonna help you with that.
Yeah. Oh, I just noticed. I don't know how long they've been in here, but we got Trev Wilson in here.
Trev.
Yeah, we've got the Whiskey Dick.
ADHD was in here earlier. Matt was in here at the very beginning. Okay. I wouldn't have expected anyone to stay for the whole time, just because it's a long show.
We're trying to give you our undivided attention, Jason. We got a couple super chats here. This one's from Scott. He says, I appreciate that every channel has a different take on top 10 of the year. It gives people a range.
Yeah, because if all of us channels said the same thing, that'd be pretty boring, and we would kind of create no need for all of us, right?
Yeah, true. And then Michael S. here is saying, should we nix the 3-tier distribution system and instead go to a Thunderdome competition to decide the control of distribution? We need another hero. Yeah, I say Thunderdome. I say Thunderdome. I say we need a Jan Michael Vincent.
I like that idea.
Yeah. But thank you all for those super chats.
Thank you.
Well, that doesn't. There we go. That's good.
So what? I know we talked a little bit earlier. So what are the bottles that kind of just missed your top 10?
Missed our top 10? Let us refer to our charts, our spreadsheets that we printed out.
So it is truly. Do you want to see it? This is the spreadsheet. It's letter coded, numbered, ranked. Average scores.
Pretty dorky.
Very dorky, but that's how I like it. So just outside of the top 10 was the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A122.
Yeah.
Which, again, for me,
okay.
And we talk about that in the episode that came out this past Friday. We do an analysis of more of, like, everything that went in. For me, I think what came in, like, what we call on the bubble, so just right outside of the top 10, is a big story. Because, again, those top 10, we taste them blind. A lot of exceptional, rare things came in the top 10. Honestly, like, I would be kind of disappointed if that wasn't the case, just because that means that distilleries are out here marketing this limited, amazing stuff, and it's not actually good.
Yeah.
Like, at least now we know from a blind perspective that, yes, it's a lot of money, yes, it's hard to find, but yes, it really is that good for these bottles. But we had the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof come in. 12th was the Rare Breed, which we just put in as like a staple. We kind of do that just as like a control almost to see where it falls.
That's
and then something that I was surprised by was the Calumet 16, which like I wasn't that impressed with. And I think I might be biased against it for some reason.
And you kind of said the same thing in your episode, Jason. You were like, when you originally had it, you were like, yeah. But then in the blind, it came in 7th for you? Which we kind of felt the same thing. We were surprised that it came in 13th for us when we originally had it. We're like, yeah, it's good. It's definitely a better value or choice than the Knob Creek 18, which I think you also referenced. But like our hair wasn't blown back. But then blind, it came in pretty respectably. And I
think the reason we put it in originally wasn't because we were like, this is incredible, it has to go in the best of. It was like, this is a solid bourbon that has the age statement, right? And it would be interesting to see how it measures up to, again, that Heaven Hill 17, the Knob Creek 18, and other things that are playing in that age range and that price range. I'm like, I just want to see how it does. For some reason, I'm biased against it. Like, again, I'm glad we did it blind because in my head, I'm still like, really? That's where that came in? I'm shocked. I just wouldn't have thought that I would have put it that high.
Power of blind.
But that's why we do it blind.
Yeah.
I think.
What about you?
Going back to your earlier question about what was a big surprise for me, it was easily the Hardin's Creek Jacob's Well.
See, we
didn't
put that in there, and I think it was because, well, we may have. The only thing that that we don't do blind is deciding what goes in. We cap it at 30. 5 of them are those staples or control bourbons, and then 25 are the ones that we earmarked. And I think maybe at the time we were thinking, well, we've got the Bardstown collection, James B. Beam edition. We've got a Booker's, our best Booker's of the year.
Knob Creek 18.
Knob Creek 18.
Knob Creek is our staple.
Knob Creek is a staple.
And
so we were like...
a maker. So we've got a lot of Beam Suntory.
So I think it was almost sort of a political decision not to include it. We liked it, but also it didn't wow. If it had wowed us, there would have been no politics necessary.
No.
But maybe we should have put that one in because I feel like it would have gone over the Booker's at least. Maybe the Knob Creek 18 even. But
yes, speaking of Bookers, probably one of the first Bookers in a long time that got close to my top 10 was the Kentucky Tea batch. I really liked that batch a lot, and
that was our favorite too.
Yeah, it almost sniffed the top 10. I mean, it just I think that was like number 13 for me. I couldn't believe it's like man, like I just hope this is a sign of things to come for Bookers. Like keep getting into that 7 to 8 year old range, a little bit older than 6. Make it worth that $100 price point for folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. I feel like when we had the Lumberyard batch, that's when we were both first like, oh, is this like a one-off like
wait a second
thing, or is this kind of a? And then to follow it up with the Kentucky Tea, which it was very close for us between those two. I know a lot of people were surprised that it wasn't the Lumberyard batch that we put in, but
because that's the one that we raved about.
We're
like, Booker's is back, everybody.
But
it's
then
back.
We tried the Kentucky Tea, and we were like, oh, I think I like this a hair better. Like overall, start to finish, I think it had more points in all the categories. But
and both of those were over 7 years old. So
that's what he's saying. Yeah.
Exactly. I just, I just hope that comes, it's just, I don't want to get into the whole like Jim Beam thing, but Jim Beam's pricing model just befuddles me across the board. I don't know what they're doing over there. I don't know what they're drinking, but it's like, like they have such high value stuff, and then they have really young stuff that they put at a high price point that they want you to sell it as premium. I just don't understand it. Whatever it is. But that bottle definitely surprised me. It had like something to it, like some of the old like good Knob Creek like 15-year picks had, because it was a blend of 16-year high rye and 15-year low rye, or I guess like traditional rye bourbon mash bills, mixed in there, and I don't know, there was something about it that stood out in the blind for me, so that one was a big surprise for me for sure.
Yeah.
We're just realizing that we missed a super chat. Thank you for calling.
Apologies. Thank you for letting us know.
For calling us out, because we didn't do that on purpose. So ladies and gentlemen, do you think we can do something about allocations? Can a regular Joe enjoy the best bourbons without paying premium?
Not in today's market.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that kind of brings up... It's hard to say, I mean, because... it's mostly from the 3-tier system, right? And the distributors and the supply and demand of things. I mean, I think a lot of distilleries on one hand have seen this coming over the past 5 to 7 years and have been preparing, extra output, additional warehouses to catch up with that. And we're probably getting to the point here in the next 2 or 3 years where we'll start to see things come of age to at 6 to 8 years that will start to ease that a little bit. But I also think, you see Sazerac suing RNDC for like $85 million and going with taking a hard left into a totally different distribution model where with the beer distributors. So like for us locally, it'll be Kentucky Eagle, and going that way and doing like a lot of individual distributors instead of one big national. That could potentially impact. Like, again, they're still going to be limited. It's still going to be hard to find, but maybe that changes how many bottles are released, to which areas, to which stores.
But what won't change is the amount of people who line up for, drawings and so forth. And that will remain, because if someone can pay $100 for a bottle and then sell it for $1,800, I mean, people who don't even like bourbon are going to these things, because if you knew of, what would be a good analogy? I guess like sneakers. Like,
I was just gonna say, I actually, I do sneakers as well. I love sneakers, and same thing happens. It's like, do guys even wear sneakers anymore? Or they just want to sell them? Like, do people even drink bourbon anymore, or they just want to? Like, I can tell you here in Ohio, just this week, they Stag batch 18, Stag, formerly Junior, just released, and I know of 2 guys that waited overnight at 3 different places to buy up 3 of them. And it's like, come on, a-hole. Can you leave some for other people? Like, you got your one, like, enough's enough. Like, we know you're flipping them, like, stop being an a-hole about it. And I don't know, like, that stuff, like, you get 1, fine. You get 2 because you need a backup. I know a lot of guys that are like that. They will not open 1 bottle unless they have a backup. Fine. But to get that 3rd bottle, like, it just becomes a little bit much, and it's like with the demand there. And to your point, Chad and Sarah, when you guys were talking about the new distribution model, it could mean we do see more Buffalo Trace bottles on the shelf. And I said this a couple weeks ago on the live stream, but it will not change the demand at all. So you may get, hey, look, all of a sudden Weller's back on the shelf everywhere.
Weller Special Reserve.
Yeah, that just means that the people that are online waiting for it already are just going to buy it up quicker. It doesn't matter.
So here's something interesting. Jeff in the comments said bourbon flippers are like concert ticket scalpers, and I think that we're seeing this type of model in more than just this industry. Like, people are very frustrated with it in the bourbon industry, and rightfully so. But like, if you look at like Ticketmaster and all these, the one I can think of is like the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster debacle or whatever, where people are setting up bots or whatever to go on and buy all of these tickets and then try to sell them for $500 a ticket, and people like nobody wants to pay that. No one wants to go.
Well, that comes down to a monopoly conversation, because Ticketmaster and Live Nation are basically the only gig in town, right?
But when we look at bourbon, the brands that we're talking about and their limited releases, we're talking about the big guys who can put out the quality. We can talk about smaller, distilleries that have limited releases, but they're more regional, and it's not their fault that they're just smaller.
And they're also small releases because they're small.
They're small distilleries, so they're putting out less, and they don't have as wide of a distribution, so it's only going to be in your region.
It's true.
So it's hard to get those as well. I don't know. It's hard for me. Like, I don't have good feelings about flippers. Like, it makes me frustrated, like what you're saying. The greed with having to get 3 bottles just to flip them is annoying. But I did meet somebody who won a bottle at this lottery that we were at the other day and paid his $100 for his BTAC bottle, got offered $1,300 as soon as he walked out the door, turned it down, and is now getting offered like $1,800 for it. And he's like a 25-year-old kid. Like, he's like, I think I'm going to do it because that's a lot of money. And I'm like, I have a hard time arguing. He was like, I just don't know that I can appreciate this whiskey $1,800 worth, but I could use $1,800. I'm like, when it comes down to like one person, one 20-something-year-old kid who's like wanting, $1,800, I kind of feel heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it.
I totally understand that, but in the just the vast amount of whiskey and bourbon that gets flipped to that extent, it's really Pappy and BTAC. I mean, yeah, you have some Dusties that go really high in the secondary, like Booker's Rye will pop up here and there, and some of the old Four Roses LEs, and old Stag Juniors, which get astronomical prices. But man, when it comes to those types of bottles, BTAC, Pappies, those are the ones that people are willing to pay the huge markups for. Like everything else that people are like buying up, you're gonna buy 5 Colonel Taylor small batches from everyone because you want to make like $30 a bottle for it. Like, come on, like I
think it's just kind of like dinner party rules. Like you don't go back for seconds before everyone else has had a chance to get a plate, right? Like you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. It feels.
I understand capitalism. I understand everyone wants to make money, and people have made this a huge part of their income. I get all that, but there's a certain line that I think people that gets crossed, especially. But nothing brings out the vultures like Buffalo Trace.
It's true.
True.
Yep.
Couple super chats to catch up on here. This one's from Roger. He said, "Enjoyed all your lists this year. Gave me some bourbon ryes to look for. Found St. Alley, the Nobleman. Can't wait till dry January's over." Yeah, that St. Alley was
very tasty.
Good one. And Derek here saying, "I recently saw the Bardstown Discovery Series at a local store near my house. They want $150 for it. I'd be passing on this bottle.
Should I be passing
on this bottle at the price?" Well, that's about 20. That's only 20 over what it goes for. I think it's $129.99.
A nice meal.
It is. It would also depend on which
release.
Which release.
Yeah, it depends on which. And the Discoveries have so many different types of, for Derek, every blend is so different. It's hard to be like, yeah, get this because it's great, but the blends are so completely different that it's hard to give advice on those unless like you get to try it before you buy it.
Yeah, totally. That's what I like about buying them from the distillery. If you are able to make it there, obviously not everyone can do that, but being able to try it at the bar right next to the gift shop and be like, oh, I do want to go in there and spend $150
on this. Yeah, I'm gonna go get
this.
that bottle right now. Thank you very much.
Right, and you get to try all the different collaborations because I mean, some of those bottles are really really nice, but they come with hefty price tags. It's good to be able to try it first.
Yeah, all the
Origin Series though.
Boom. Ooh, Origin Series. Yeah, I would recommend starting with the Origin Series bottles before you pull the trigger on that Discovery and see how you feel there, and then go from there.
Unless it's Discovery number 4, I think that one was super good. Yeah, I think it was 4. I can't remember now. Yeah, but that was long gone.
4 had that infamous that bean, that 7, 8.5 corn mash bill in it.
Yes. That was the first time I was like, so this is Beam's mash bill.
Well, sort of. But technically it was. And then 3, which was a lot of people's favorites, was like 12 or 13 year MGP in it. That thing was delicious too. Yeah,
3 and 4 are kind of next level. They're legendary.
Actually, here's a bottle that just missed my top 10, which was I think this one got. I want to say 15 or 14. It was up there, but it was a Bardstown. It was a Bardstown collab, but unfortunately this was an Illinois only release. But it was the Goose Island. It was the Goose Island.
I
want this.
Now we got to get that because
listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, and I think it's why it didn't really get like super high. First of all, no Dickel. This is all 12-year Kentucky bourbon, baby. And then on top of that, they throw it in a Goose Island stout cask, Bourbon County stout cask. And this drinks, it's like chocolate fudge in a glass. It's ridiculous.
Stop it.
Someone get Danny Bardstown on the phone.
I'm only 1 week into dry month, and now I want that.
Yeah. But that kind of reminded me.
Get one and then time the delivery right at the end of dry month.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh. Joe says they're still available at some Benny's.
Oh, really?
In Chicago as of Thursday.
So maybe. Yeah. My buddy Dan, he was like, they're just sitting at Benny's, and they're the $160. They're pricey, but like all the collabs, they are. That one to me. That one to me is really good. It's really good.
I want that.
But that sort of reminded me, back earlier when we asked you the question, what distillery has growing bottle wise for you since you started. For us, Bardstown Bourbon Company is one that, you know, when we started at the same time, Bardstown and our channel, but, you know, we would have a Fusion and a Discovery series, but now it's like, it's over 30 bottles of it. And
again, that's another one where it's like,
really
we want
exploded.
to keep up with all the different releases, because like there was one that we missed out on that we were like, oh, we can't be getting all of these, you know, every single time they do a release. And it was the original Chateau de la Bade. And so the one time we were like, we can't get everything. Let's pass on this one. Of course.
It becomes their best. It's their best one ever.
Now, we were able to get a bottle after the fact,
you
but
passed on that bottle?
yes.
Well, it was, I want to say it was pretty expensive back then. It was like more expensive than the second release.
Which I think is why
of
we
the
were
Chateau
like,
de la Bade.
we were already getting other stuff, I
We'd
think,
never
from the gift
tasted
shop,
it.
and
We'd
we
never
hadn't
tasted it
and we were
before.
like,
Well, I could see
no,
that.
we
but,
can't get them
but
all.
You're right. It's hard to say no to those because most
You never
of the
know.
Discovery collabs end up being really good. You just, you know, it's.
I mean,
yeah. I mean,
their
I
triple
get it.
stave from, what was it, 2021 was one of our best things of the year. So it's
Ooh,
like
yeah.
Stave's amazing.
really difficult.
The Ferrand, you could get into the cognac one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could probably a million. I could. Oh, one of my favorites from way back when was the one they did with Copper and Kings, which was an absolute sherry bomb. That one,
I love that one.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's like, I hate to not, collect them all, but at the same time, like, we're running out of space for the bar.
Yeah,
like, our
I
Bardstown
would- I
shelf
think-
is packed.
I think Bardstown Bourbon Company is a good call for me too. I have Bardstown Bourbon Company kind of taking up like half of the shelf right over there right now. I think Foregate is another one, even though they're very expensive. I just love some of the blending and the double casting they do. For somehow, some way, they don't ever really let the finish overtake the backbone of the whiskey, which I really appreciate. Even though I'm not going to buy every single one. Usually the Kelvin collabs, which the Kelvin collab number 4, I think was my number 8 or 7 or whatever it was this year, and that thing is just
It was your 8. Yeah.
8. Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing was just a monster of a whiskey. I loved it so much, and it just kept getting better over time.
It was 9. It was
9
9 for us. Yeah.
Real
close.
You're speaking my language. The Kelvin collabs are my jam.
Now the 2 I think was the best.
Well, we haven't done them all together. But
We haven't done them all together,
From
but
memory.
yeah,
We
from
did
memory.
enjoy
Oh, the Kelvin collab.
Uh,
Oh yeah, I think ever since they started doing Kelvin collabs, it's always snuck into my top 10 each year. There's just something.
Same.
I mean, they do other great finishes. They do their split staves, which are always great. But there's something about the fact that it was a Burai this year with a double finish on it just made it so interesting. So
Those are really good. Mike here with Super Chat saying, I'm a big fan of Driftless, Glen, and Starlight, which I find similar. Do you three enjoy their juice?
I don't think I'm as familiar with Driftless Glen.
We're not as familiar.
We have a Starlight pick coming sometime early this year.
I'm going to send you a sample, of both you guys, of the last. We just released 3 Driftless Glen picks, and they are absolutely they are ridiculous. So
I would love to try
now.
that.
They are. I mean, it's how do I say this? It's not Kentucky bourbon. It's Wisconsin bourbon.
Yeah.
There's a slight craftiness to it, but the flavors are so intense and just concentrated. And if anything, I know you guys with your palates, you will appreciate the viscosity of these whiskeys. We picked 2 ryes and 1 bourbon. I'll definitely send those guys out to you, and you can try them on a live stream. I think you guys are really, really like them. I'm a huge fan of what Driftless Glen is doing. We have done already 5 picks with them, and each one of them they just get better and better. Starlight for me, I really do enjoy. I enjoy their ryes over their bourbons for the most part. Did pick a hitter of a bourbon this year. We called it the Rock Star because I could not, like, anyone that's ever tasted that does not believe that's like a 4.5-year-old bourbon. It's insanely concentrated a flavor. But I really dig their finished rye whiskeys. I think a lot of those have just been so good. Yeah.
Yeah. When we went up to visit there, that was like, it was a really, really great pick experience. The hospitality, on point.
Yeah,
And we
it's
went
like,
in like
here's-
fall, and it was harvest season. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's like
Pumpkins.
here's the key. Here's the key to the warehouse. Go have fun. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, like the whole farm.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, indeed.
Well, we have
Oh, yeah.
kept you 20 minutes over the time that we requested from you, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. Even though I feel like we could talk all night, to be
Oh,
honest.
for sure.
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
could easily go through a million.
The
and
time
a half
has
subjects
flown.
and just keep chatting. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But I don't want to keep you. Also, we have The Last of Us to go watch. I'm very
So,
excited.
HBO Max.
So how is that? Did you start it yet?
Yeah.
Yes, we watched the first episode.
And how did the first episode go? You're
I thought it
already
was
hooked.
incredible.
I'm
I'm
in.
hooked.
I'm in.
You're already in it. You're in it already.
Yeah.
One episode, you're in.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. All right.
There's I think, gosh, I don't know when, played a little bit of the game at some point, and so I knew like a little bit of what to expect, but there's just this scene in the first episode that's like shot for shot a match on a part of the game, and like just the tensity. Tensity? Is that a word? Tenseness?
Tension.
Tensity. That's not a word.
Intensity.
Intensity or tension that grips you in this scene. Like
It
I
was
felt
tensity.
like
Lots
I
of
felt like I
tensity.
was holding my breath, like I couldn't breathe.
I passed out. Because
Yeah.
I was holding my breath.
But the only bad thing about it, I wish they didn't release those shows at like 9 p.m. on Sundays, because at 10 I can't settle down and go to sleep. My anxiety's through the roof.
We're old. We have a bedtime.
Well,
Anyways,
anything with,
I recommend it.
anything with Ron Swanson in it, I'm gonna watch. I think. So.
Right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
We haven't seen him yet.
No, not yet. But
But,
I just saw him in the preview, so no spoiler. That was not.
Yeah.
yeah, no spoilers.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. Just in the
Yeah.
previews.
But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, this was.
Well,
this was a ton of fun.
This was fun, right?
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
hanging out with us.
Yeah, I think, and this has been pointed out to us from people, that we have similar palates. I think maybe of all the Whiskey Tube, you might be the most similar
To who?
To
You
us.
or me? Well,
To
we're
both of
different.
us. Yeah, but there's things that we align on.
Sure.
You know, just looking at your top 10, you got some things that we included too, and things that we weren't able to get. So I guess all that to say is you got good taste, Jason.
Yeah.
Not that you
Hey,
needed
and,
our seal of approval.
And Sarah and I got to pinch it at the barrel pick for turkey. I can't wait for
that's
those
still
barrels.
I can't wait for those.
What a time to have
might,
COVID.
Might still be a sensitive subject.
Oh,
really-
Don't worry, dude. More turkey to come for you.
Yeah.
I hope so.
But it was,
Yeah,
but we
we're
got
excited.
to. I mean, if anything, we got to taste some delicious barrels that day. So
It was a good day. It was a good hang.
Yeah. Okay.
It's okay. You're all right.
Cool.
you're all right.
Cool.
You're all right.
Cool.
Thought of you.
Cool.
Thought of you the whole time, dude. Thought of you the whole time.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I was thinking of you the whole time, I swear.
You're all we talked about.
Uh-huh.
Oh, as that
Sure.
was, putting the thief in the barrel. Oh, wish Chad was here.
Well, if we make it up your way
Uh.
anytime this year, we'll let you know. Maybe we can do this in person.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on. Great conversation, and yeah, cheers to you guys and all success. And here's to a good 2023. And when you guys hit that 100K mark, can't wait for it.
Oh, thank you. Wow,
Thank
I
you.
couldn't have
Thank you
said
much.
nicer things.
Yeah. But hang on the line, Jason. We're gonna go ahead and close it out for everyone else, though. We will see you all next week. When we will have another guest on. Just
Stay
have to
tuned.
wait for that. And where's the button? It's right here. But we'll see you all next Sunday. Until then,
Bye.
bye.